Hello everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. I hope you're doing fantastically well wherever you are out there. Guys, we're talking about XinFin XDC in this video. An interesting partnership as well, and the going on about this, the interlacing with R3 Corda that we've spoken about many times. If you remember a while back, or those that are new to the channel, I did a video ages ago about if XDC was a scam coin, and it was basically off the back of loads of people saying that, you know, they didn't believe in the project, or it was a FUD, or this, that and the other. And I put some conclusive evidence and links together about a multitude of things with XinFin and XDC, and also its relation to R3 Corda. And actually this partnership that I'm going to mention in a minute's time kind of clarifies again that link up, as well as a messaging service that this particular project brings to the table. So, and how it links with XDC's XinFin's blockchain tech. So this should be quite interesting. First of all, you're not going to see too much news from a lot of these crypto projects, certainly from the top end of the hierarchy of the staff, because we have the big New York City crypto event going on at the moment. Big powerhouses over there right now, and a multitude of politicians and things like this really getting their teeth into what is to come for this year and for the years to come as well. Obviously very exciting. But one thing for sure is the XDC Foundation posted this an hour ago, which is really cool to see. This is off the back of the partnership fairly recently with Impel. We'll go into that in a minute, but they're basically kind of like trying to challenge, if you like. I wouldn't call it a challenge, because the Swift and CHAP systems and things like this are being replaced anyway with you know, cryptography and blockchain technology anyway. But Impel seems to be one of those that is really trying to force its way through to be a solution for the replacement of this legacy service. We'll go on to that in a second, but just to reiterate here, we have the CEO on the right from Impel with XDC Foundation Executive Director XinFin, because XinFin USA, but that's obviously not his real name. But this is really good to see that these guys are meeting up, having chats, conversations as you'd expect from these kind of events. They're not just good old jolly up. There's obviously lots of business and conversation going on at the same time. But I'll take this conversation over to Impel. This is new-ish to me. I've been looking at this and researching this for a few weeks now, but I was particularly interested in the significant integration with XinFin XDC, why they chose them as a partner, but also this bridging system to R3 Corda. As mentioned in previous videos, yeah, there's always been conversation about, is XDC actually involved with R3, and we showed loads of conclusive evidence that it was. But also we now start seeing the partnerships in this hierarchy, this top level performance of finance and integration, which will go down as we scroll in this particular topic. So here we got Impel here trying to be essentially not necessarily a full replacement, perhaps maybe interlacing with other projects and infrastructures, I can imagine. But this for sure is really interesting, because they are looking to try and have a cost-effective alternative to Swift and SEPA, so two massive existing traditional or indeed legacy financial messaging solutions. We know CBDCs are on the brink of trial right now. In fact, 2-3 days ago was when here in the Bank of England was the beginning of those trials, and across the world in fact as well. So we now go into the aspect of why they're trying to do this, and here's the critical elements that I found really interesting. The military grade security is something that XDC in general also boasts about, as do many of the other traditional kind of financial crypto related projects. We talk about like Quant, for example, Stellar, XRP. Very high end KYC capabilities, technology capabilities and verification. What I also loved about Impel here is the ISO20022 compliant messaging. This is all interlaced, guys. I want you to really think about when you're doing your research about these ISO coins, not just the coins, but also the projects and the technologies within them. This is super exciting. This is in the next few years ahead of us. I'm telling you, in my mind, November 2025, or indeed 2025 in general, there will be a gigantic change, and the shift and the turn off of the likes of Swift and SEPA and CHAPS and all of these big financial legacy infrastructures being replaced with this new ISO standard and the technology that comes with it. At this stage, in the next year or so, you will see the development of Swift working alongside these kind of big projects, and then eventually the turn off. And then before we know it, we are in a new ISO compliant 200-2022 world, or sorry, 222. And the fact of these big projects taking over, really exciting. Here's some two really key elements as well regarding XDC's integration with this. Is the low or indeed no cost of the implementation, but obviously there's gas fees involved as well, but they're extremely low compared to a multitude of different other blockchains out there. So this is really cool to see. And then finally, I did want to mention as well the integrations with R3, the Corda bridge. I can't really show you much on there because I haven't linked up my XinPay, but isn't this super cool to see this in fruition? Ignore this is my browser messing up, unfortunately. But you can indeed do a little demo here of how ISO works. I have requested that information, and I've also requested to see if I can get a really cool AMA or something with these guys at Impel, because I think this would be a phenomenal conversation to have. I don't know how much detail I could get out of them, but for sure I'll try my best to get as much as I can, because I'm super excited about anything related to XinFin's ecosystem and infrastructure, as well as the R3 Corda implementation as well. There's a bit more here about XDC's network and how they're utilizing the protocol, and especially here Ethereum's virtual machine. This is how, if you notice that a lot of the addresses are OX beginning, this is because they're Ethereum protocols, right? But EVM machines are allowing projects like XinFin, for example, to essentially kind of build on top of them, but actually start to take themselves away from that. But Ethereum was always going to be the big beast behind all the powering. That's why they got such big gas fees, right? And then finally here, the unique technology of this bridge enables XDC, the coin native of XDC network, to move to and from public Corda network and to be used as a settlement vehicle inside of the Corda ecosystem. This is super cool, and this identifies XDC's two avenues they go down. They have a private blockchain solution and a public one as well. So this is going to be really interesting to see how these three projects work together moving forward. There's some information out there, but of course this is a big development. It's going to take a few years to get right, perhaps in fruition around 2025, like we just mentioned with the other projects and the switchovers. I'm super excited about this, and that's for sure. In terms of the token, there is no plans to release, apparently, an XRC20 token on the XDC network. So we just have to bear that in mind. It's at this stage kind of a technological project rather than a need to or requirement to have some form of verification or staking or tokenomics at this stage. But yes, as we said here, unique bridging technology, data can be recorded privately on the Corda network, while limited data sets are transferred to the XDC public network, thereby mitigating institutional risk and turning Corda into a hybrid network. It's all coming into play. We covered this for pretty much a year now in these aspects, and isn't this super cool to see three big, really cool projects coming together in this capacity? So I thought I'd just bring that to your attention. We can go into the chart in a second now anyway, but I think this is something to really keep an eye on, the development wise, and keep an eye on their socials to see what other things they have coming into play. Here's the chart, guys. Unfortunately, it's all gone white. I don't know why. It's usually all black, but the settings have gone all mad. I think there's an update or something, but do bear with us. At least you can see the chart in a nice descriptive format today. So what we got here with XDC, as with the rest of the market, we have had a big downtrend since earlier this year, and we can see all the way back here, August last year, it actually started an earlier drop compared to the other projects out there, in my opinion. It was probably maybe because there wasn't a massive relation to the metaverse conversations that were going on around October, November, which took a lot of the projects upwards, and then by December they came down. So this has already started its momentum downwards, and we're actually almost, can you believe it, we're nearly in July, and this is actually indicating that we're nearly a year away from that top point that we saw back there. So what can we look at with XDC right now? Well, we have seen some really good stabilization with XDC at these lower regions. For those that thought they missed out on XDC above 5 cents, etc., here is a sublime opportunity to essentially invest in a top quality project here. If you haven't seen our intro videos to XDC, you'll understand why we're so excited about this project and its ecosystem, its blockchain, its technology, its partners, everything. I will leave a link to that video at the end of this one for sure. But in hindsight, I was quite late to XDC in a sense. I mean, I did videos on XDC about a year ago when we started the channel, of course, but in the grand scheme of things, it's almost something that I've been trying to accumulate as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And in these low regions, I've been given a massive opportunity in my mind to accumulate something that's going to be a powerhouse in the years to come. Do let us know in the comments below what you think about that. Are you super bullish about XDC as well? Are you on the fence? Or are you waiting for a bit more information to come out to start investing in that? But for me, it's still massively under the radar. And I think everyone's going to see some really fruitful returns over these next few years as the technology gets integrated. So at the moment, currently floating the price point around 2.8 cents. It did try its best to penetrate fully the 3 cent mark. It lasted about a day or two. I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see that. It bounced off this fib retracement level here, and it now looks like it's going to come back down to its previous level here at potentially 2.7 cents. We're only talking about miniature values here, to be honest. And actually, unfortunately, with this particular chart with QCon, it's not massively old, so I can't go all the way back in history. But it'd be very interesting to see the correlation with Bitcoin, that if Bitcoin does drop down lower to 17, 15,000, or maybe even lower, will it bring all the other crypto assets down with it as well? So we do have to be a bit patient on the side to see if that happens with XDC. But in my grand principle, in my mind, I think you're going to see a lot of stability in this project. Yes, we may still come down a bit, but actually if you look at the volumes, it's very steady considering how bad the market has been over the last few months. Yes, we had the big sell-off, but it only really lasted that whole month, and then now we're seeing some really good stabilization, good intake, balanced with a bit of outtake from profits, and again now another intake. And we look at these RSIs down here, particularly on the 14-day, it's a really good position at 29, and I always look at the 28-day in particular for a monthly position of potential return, and also the 90 days important from the 3 months perspective, as well as 6 months, which I don't have on the chart, but the 90 days is a good conclusive number there to suggest that we're in a good stabilized lower region. Not saying that it won't come down lower, but it's just saying in my mind that we're seeing some good stability here. The 14-day, as I said, is really low, not as low as it was back here. Look at this on the 16th of June, it was at 20, which is crazy for this kind of project. But we are seeing good signs of straightening the chart and potentially, just potentially, more confidence coming in to try and pull this back up. But it really does depend on the market. The narratives around the world are still really negative, so I'm not expecting miracles. But what I am expecting from myself personally is to be accumulating this as much as possible in a DCA format. This means that I'm strategically positioning buy points around this area, but not putting everything in one go, because in my mind, I still believe that we might come down lower. Not to say XDC is a poor or bad project, it's just that the market is this way currently. But what you do see in particular with these ISO coins at the moment is good strength. Despite this downward pattern, I do think we're going to start seeing some good backing behind this, especially as these really cool partnerships come about. On the performance indicators on the right hand side here, you can see it's all in negative, as is pretty much the rest of the market, to be honest. There's no surprises here. The only two positive things I would take out from this one versus a lot of the other projects is that this negative number on the 6 months and the 3 months is actually significantly lower than a lot of the other ones out there, which backs my point that yes, we are in a downward trend market. You can't avoid that no matter how good your project is. But the fact of the matter is that it is more stabilized and more perhaps confident driven inwards than many of the others out there. So that's my take on XDC. I'm not going anywhere with it at all. It's one of my biggest in the portfolio, not necessarily from the asset number unit wise. I'm talking about the biggest in terms of perhaps the most exciting one, alongside the likes of IOTA and Quant. This one in my mind is perhaps my biggest gem in the background, where I feel like this could be a giant in the future. If you disagree or agree with that, do leave that in the comments, because I'm always open to both sides of the story. What I don't want to see again is comments saying this is a scam coin, blah blah blah, because you've had a bad time in the market. Give us some decent information and decent comments and feedback on this project and what we think about it. That is what this show is all about. So guys, I'm going to wrap that up mostly right there. In terms of my next buying positions, as I said, I am buying around this area. I'm still waiting again perhaps for a dip down to this 2.6 area. And this might sound a bit crazy, and I'm actually going to draw it in just here. I do have buy points just under this 0.25 mark back down here. And I do have a buy position just above the 2 cent mark. If it goes lower than 2 cents, would be a very big shame, but I do have these positions just in case. If it doesn't, fine, I'm still happy to accumulate around this area. And do you know what? Anything under 10 cents for me with XDC is an absolute Brucey bonus. Guys, I'm going to wrap that up there. Thank you so much for watching, and we will indeed catch up with these guys and all the other projects that XDC deals with in the very near future. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.